And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, we are in for a treat today. It is our newest edition of Weighing In, and I have the real Punk. Actually, next I can hit you.
He loves
it's
it.
important that I get to hit you for some of the things that you say. We have a huge Bellator show coming up, probably the biggest Bellator show ever.
In Bellator history.
In Bellator history, the biggest fight in Bellator history, I would say. And then we also have the UFC with Sean Strickland taking on Uriah Hall. That's going to be a good show. It's one of those shows I think it's going to be sneaky good as far as you look at the fights and you're just like, it's not nothing that really inspires me. Watch, it's going to end up being a phenomenal show.
I think it will be a phenomenal show, and I also think that this is the biggest fight in Bellator history. Patricio Pitbull versus Aj Mckee. A lot of buzz right now, which is great because I love to see the fact that people are actually comparing the two cards. This is a huge card for Bellator for them to make their step through. I think Showtime is coming through. This has been the biggest push that I've seen from the media.
You've seen some good marketing on this, and you've seen a lot of good media output on what this fight means for Bellator, what it means for these two fighters, the contrast of styles, the contrast of personalities. There's been a whole lot going on.
Well, first, let's just say one thing real quick. We are here in Thick Boy Studios down in Calabasas.
We are.
We just got done filming Food Truck Diaries. I want to say thanks to Brendan Schaub and having us on. We had a great time. It was fun. We had some spicy chicken sandwiches. Well, you had a spicy chicken sandwich. I had a mild chicken sandwich.
Yeah,
so,
we already learned that whole thing. You know, when it comes to spices and Josh, separation is the key.
No mas.
No mas. No
No
mas.
mas.
No Pocky chips.
No. So this is what's funny about this whole thing. So like John, he's in reaching distance now. He can hit me, but I also had to go buy it. I had to go buy a wide angle lens to get John in the picture. So
I'm in Thick Boy Studios. I fit here perfectly.
Yes, it is true.
Thank you.
This is very true.
Very happy here.
So also, I want to take this time to announce that I'll be doing another fight campaign. I think we're doing it the August 6th show. So that's going to be another one we're doing for that pay-per-view.
August 6th or August 7th?
It's August 6th, I believe. Yeah.
That's the one with Cyril Gahn and Derek Lewis.
No, I think it's a different one.
No, I think that's that's Amanda Nunes versus Julia Pena.
Is that the one?
I believe. John, come on, Podcast Dave. What is it?
I'm getting it.
It is? I don't think it is. No, I think it's a different fight.
Really?
Yeah,
I was thinking that was when Amanda fought.
It could be. I could be
wrong.
August 7th is Lewis and Gahn.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Lewis
Okay,
and
that's
Gahn
the one.
and Amanda.
That's the one we're doing.
And is it August 7th or 6th?
7th.
Okay.
See, I'm trying to get you viewers.
Big brain.
No,
Big brain on John. I know you're gonna be watching because I like you. love to send me texts. Hey, dummy, it's this one. Oh shit, I forgot.
I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah,
you're my brother.
I know. It's if we were compared more like son, maybe grandchild, but whatever.
Could be my grandchild.
All right. Well, hey, we want to thank Brennan for letting us use the studio today because we just got done filming, but it's been fun, man. We had a great time today, right?
Oh, I had a great time. It was fun. Just being able to bounce stuff off of someone that's kind of been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we talk about, hardcores and casuals and things like that. But there is a difference. There's a difference of what people remember and what they liked and what, you can talk about. And when I get someone that's old like me, it's kind of nice because I can talk about all that old stuff that no one knows about.
Yeah, the great part was we got the whole conversation when we first showed up. We walked into one of the studios that he's getting built out right now, and there was a picture of Kimbo. Yeah. And he just started talking about the stories and the Kimbo slice in the house, and then also all the other stuff that came along with it. And it was just like one of those. It's like sad to hear, it's sad to know that he's gone, but all the stories still live on. It's great.
Well, I have a lot of stories with Kimbo and did a lot of things with him. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
It's one of those. Everyone's got an idea in their mind of what the person's like, and there's people, they see me and they just like me off the bat. And there's people that see me and they hate me off the bat. They don't know anything about me. Well, it's the same thing when people saw Kimbo, they thought, I'm going to stay away from that guy. One of the nicest individuals ever. He had that intimidating look, but man, he was a sweetheart of a guy. He was fun to be around. We used to do practical jokes and stuff. And he was fun. And when you got someone that's fun, that's when you have a good time.
It's that typical what you see on Instagram versus reality.
That's
exactly really what it comes down. A quick story though on him is that he was the very first guy I ever interviewed once I signed with Bellator. They actually flew me out to do the Kimbo Data 5000 fight, and they had me there in Houston at the O Athletic. I think it's called O Athletic, is which what's the running back Peterson? Adrian Peterson. He owns, I think he's part owner of that, or is the owner of that place in Houston. But it was a huge facility gym, and he was there, and he was the very first person I ever interviewed for Bellator. Yeah. Just absolute great guy, man. So fun. I was like, hey, please don't call me sir. He kept calling me sir. He's like, oh, yes, sir. And I was like, what is sir? What do you mean?
He knew how old you were.
Yeah, what a jerk. What a jerk. Not all of us are 68, 72.
That's 4 years difference. Come
Whatever.
On.
It's
Give me 68.
I'm just guessing. Guesstimations. All right, so let's talk the UFC first, then we'll talk the Bellator card, and then we'll talk some fan questions, I think, is what we're going to get into. Maybe a little bit of news in there, right, Dave?
Yep, absolutely.
Dave, can you be a little more long-winded? People want to hear your voice. I don't know why, but then people want to hear your voice. I read the comment section like I do every single time because I'm dumb, okay? But I read the comment section. Dave, stop mumbling, man. Turn your mic up, okay? Stop mumbling. Look, they loved your energy on Wayne Interjection. They love that energy. Bring that energy back every single time.
Did you hear what his friends said? His friends told him, don't ever do that again. Don't ever talk like that again. It's
Those
like,
are
no,
haters.
I need you to talk like that. I need other people to understand you and hear you. That's a good thing.
What do you got for us, Dave?
What did I got for you?
Let me hear your voice. Let me hear your voice, buddy.
I'm saving it for that show. All
right. As long as you're saving it up, we'll take it.
All right, I'll take that.
All right, Sean Strickland versus Uriah Hall. A lot of people are saying this is not a good fight. I actually think it is a good fight.
I think it's a wonderful fight.
And I think Sean Strickland is a different fighter right now. I think his fight that he had against Brendan Allen just proved a whole lot about how good Sean is at controlling the fight on the feet, being a guy who's not flashy, but you don't have to be flashy in the sport. You have to be effective. He's very effective. He goes to the body well. I think this is a good matchup. The real question in this fight, Uriah Hall, incredible athletic ability, great technical ability, a guy that you really like to like. Mm-hmm. The question is, where is he mentally? How confident is he in his skill set? He had the fight with Weidman. It's a win, but he didn't do anything. It's, it's a sad ending, when Weidman breaks his leg. And he wasn't able to display anything off of, that fight. So where is he coming into this fight? How is he feeling, and how strong mentally, how comfortable is he going into this fight with Strickland?
I think he's comfortable. I think he's comfortable every time he steps in there. It's more of the mental thing, the more of that mental aspect. That's been the knock on him forever now. And so it's just a matter of whether when he gets in there, if he can implement his game plan. And what I mean by implementing his game plan is he doesn't need to be the pressure fighter, because Strickland will be that pressure fighter. Strickland's going to try to walk him down, make him uncomfortable, which I think plays right into Uriah Hall's game. If he can just make sure he stays composed, okay, and sticking and moving and using his kicks to keep him at bay. If he can do that, I think his confidence will start to grow as the fight goes on, like we saw against Anderson Silva. If he can do that, I think he'll be fine. But it's that first round, he's gonna have to kind of build his confidence on that first round, land some good shot, pick and choose his shots. Don't get caught up into a brawl. If he can do that, which Strickland's going to try to do, I think just push the pressure on him. We'll know whether Uriah Hall is mentally there, because Strickland's going to put so much pressure. Will he break him, or will he rise to the occasion? That's been the question forever. That's the question that Dana White's been waiting for him to answer.
Yeah, it is, but it's a real thing when you look at, if you're Sean Strickland and if you're his corner, going into this fight, you're looking, go back and watch that Anderson Silva fight. Watch what Anderson was doing when Anderson was being successful. Watch what happens when Uriah starts to come forward. It's telling you everything that you need to know about this fight. Not everybody can fight going backwards. Uriah can at times, but at times he starts to actually wilt while going backwards because he's just not confident in what's going on. How is it you can have a guy that is physically and just talented, athletically gifted, and doesn't believe in himself?
John, it happens all the time. We just overlook it. It happens all the time. But then I just noticed though, right now you just burped up that spicy chicken sandwich. I saw your eyes get a little red.
I did burp them.
Yes, he did. Yeah, it's really going to come down to Uriah Hall and the mental capacity of what he's capable to do after that first round. I think if he gets through the first round, has a successful first round,
he'll feel more comfortable.
I think he'll feel more comfortable, and then the fight as it goes on, I think he'll be able to start touching Sean Strickland. Strickland's going to be able to try and walk. He's got to be able to try to walk him down, put the pressure on him. If he's having success landing shots, I can see Uriah Hall's confidence going backwards. Like you said, putting him on his back foot. If he can do that, And he also, if he pushes him to the fence, he doesn't need to get the takedown. He just needs to make it a dirty,
just bang him up.
Make it a dirty, grimy fight, like that straight up Randy Couture style. Just get in there and just make it dirty.
Which Sean can do.
No, he can.
And the one thing I will say off of it, everybody looking at Uriah, take him off his feet, put him on his back. Sean Strickland might be looking at that as part of his game plan. If given the opportunity to get that easy takedown, don't work real hard for it. But if I can get that easy takedown, catch you with your leg up in the air or something like that, I'm going to put you on your back and I'm going to work you.
The last thing you want to do is put a ton of effort out to get a takedown and you don't get it and you're stuck standing on the feet with Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
Knowing that someone is so fast, so accurate, he just needs to have the confidence to throw it. And let it go in bursts. Don't just let it go in ones and twos. No, let it go in combinations. If he lets it go in combinations, he's probably one of the most dangerous fighters in that division. He's just got to do it. Just got to believe. Like I've always told the story that happened to me, right? I was training for a fight and I just noticed I was landing a 1-2, but then there was a lot of time I was missing the right hand. And my coaches finally were just like, hey, you have to throw the 3. You have to. Not even if you don't. I was like, yeah, it doesn't.
Not even if you think you're going to land it. Just you've got to throw it to make him have to react with it.
Not only just that, but majority of the time, once I started throwing the 3, it landed. It's just because you missed 1 and 2 doesn't mean the third one's not going to land. Now you got to pick and choose. Make sure you're not leaving yourself exposed. Okay, but if you're barely touching with the jab and you're missing the right hand by grazing it, throw the left hook because they're not really prepared. If you're touching them just a tiny bit or grazing off of them, they're not really prepared for the 3 and the 4. So you've got to commit and just do it. And so if Uriah Hall does that, I think he'll have a successful night.
Well, one of the things I want to give Uriah Hall credit for is since he made the move to Fortis MMA, they have done a phenomenal job in getting him prepared for fight and working on him being confident in what he can do, because when he's confident, he's dangerous. So I think the move to Fortis was fantastic for him. Great job. I saw it in all those guys out there.
When you're going down this card, though, I mean, there's not a lot of name value on it. But here's the thing, though. A lot of tough fighters that are on here, though.
Yeah.
A lot of tough fighters are on. Like, I know he's getting a little old in the tooth, but Uriah, I've always liked watching him fight. Super aggressive, good jiu-jitsu.
Oh, he's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu.
Phenomenal jiu-jitsu. He's a dog. Who else on this card that you like?
I take a look at Nico Montano. Mm-hmm. She's a good fighter, and she I know she's going against someone that a lot of people are not used to with Wu, but Wu's got very good stand-up. She's actually got good ground. It's the real question is what Nico is going to come out. The confident Nico that we saw in the beginning of her stint in the UFC, or is it the Nico that she's starting to have doubts about? Does she even really want to be there to a point?
Yeah.
When she was confident, she was good, and she was hammering people that you go, man, I can't believe she took that girl out. And now, after everything that's occurred, she won the title, first person in the flyweights to get the title. It's gone now. She can get herself back. The real question is, what confidence does she have in it?
I think that Jason Witt and Barberena fight should be good too. As well.
Barbara, dude,
I think it's gonna be probably one of
my favorite fights to watch all time was Barberena against Vicente Luque. Do you remember that fight?
Yes, I do.
Holy Jesus!
Great fight.
Yeah. That should be a unbelievable matchup.
He's just tough. He just comes forward. He just knows how to. He touches it. He's really, really good in terms of aggressive. Barberena's aggressive, and he's got a great chin.
He's got a great chin. He's got a great ground game.
Yeah.
People don't. He doesn't get the credit for the ground game that he actually has. He's got a very good, solid ground game. And he's got a chin made of granite because he will take shots. Now he'll wobble, but he won't fall down. He's like a weeble.
Yeah.
Those weebles you used to do. They bobble back.
That's before my time, John. That's before my time. Okay, we're not talking about the 20s.
Well, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That's Brian Barberena.
Can you scroll down on there for us, Dave? There we go. Who else on that?
Ashley Yoder against Jen Yu Fry. That's a good matchup.
God, I'm trying to remember Jin Yu Fry. I remember watching her fight. I can't remember who, though.
Jen Yu Fry was in Invicta forever. And then she came to the UFC. She was the Invicta champion, but she was an atomweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then bumped up into the strawweight division. But she has got great skills. Out of Texas, good ground game, good stand-up, solid everywhere. I'm wondering if she's got a good enough ground game. And for whatever reason, Ashley Yoder seems to dominate other women on the ground when she gets that ability to get the fight to the ground. Mm-hmm. I don't think she can dominate Jen Yu Fry there. So if it hits the ground, Jen's going to be good at defending herself. The real question is how much damage can she do on the feet while she's up there without because Ashley's just she's going to be looking to land shots, but she's going to be looking to get that takedown.
Yeah.
So how long can Jen keep the fight in the range that she wants?
Got it. All right, Dave, what else you got for us there? What other fights on here, John, stand out to you?
That's it for me as far as, there's a bunch of, little fights. Kai Kamaka coming into another fight against Danny Chavez.
I'm a big Kai Kamaka fan, so I want to root for him.
Well, his last fight was fantastic.
Yeah. He didn't get the win, though.
No, he did not.
Should have.
I thought he should have.
Should have.
Yeah. I thought he should have. But it was one of, it's not a robbery. It was a great fight, and he's just in that position. He needs to fight the same type of fight he had. As far as he needs to be active, he needs to be busy. He cannot wait. When he's waiting, he's letting time go by and he's getting beat. He's got to figure, I've got to be the offensive instigator. I got to be the guy going after this fight. I got to be the one dictating where the fight belongs, and he can get the win.
If you look at his actual talent, his ability, his athleticism, he should be dominating these fights. He's just got to believe, I think, in himself a little bit more, like you said, to pull the trigger. Yeah. If he starts believing in himself a little bit more like the Uriah Hall, not quite to that level of like in terms of like talent, not yet, I'm saying, but also athleticism is not quite at that level, but I'm saying that he just need to believe a little bit more to get to that next level. He's there, he just hasn't done it yet.
That's one of those things where everyone that's around you in the gym, and they all see it, they all know, hey, look at him, look at what he's doing, but you've got to believe it. You got to believe in that. Hey, I can pull this off. Not only in here, I can do it under the bright lights, and that's the difference maker a lot of times between that next level of fighter. You've got to be able to do those things that you do in the gym. You got to be able to do them under the lights.
I agree. All right, Dave. Let's. What are we doing? We heading into the Bellator card. I mean, we lost, honestly, like the card lost. One of the best fights on the card was Magomedov versus Rafael Stotts. That really bummed me out. But I mean, in all fairness, though, this card was stacked to begin with, which I absolutely loved. But that was going to be an absolute amazing fight. I was looking forward to that fight. That was really to see who was going to fight for the title next.
Yeah,
against Sergio Pettis. So you got Patricio Pitbull versus Aj Mckee. But I'm actually going to start from the bottom here. Can you scroll down a little bit for us, Dave? I think one of the fights that's being overlooked is that Georgia Karahanian fight versus Kiefer Crosby. That to me is going to be a great fight. Kiefer Crosby making his debut at 155, which is going to be great. I don't know if did they decide on a catch weight? Because Kiefer said he's making 55, so I don't know if it was guaranteed to be 55, probably 56.
I would think it's 55. Look, Georgie was never a big lightweight anyways. It was at featherweight for a long time.
Yeah.
Kiefer was always that tweener guy between the lightweight and the
welterweights,
and so he was doing catch weights at 160 and things like that, trying to get there. We need a title with this. I think this would be at 155.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like Georgie's like, I feel so much better though at 55. He's just murdering himself to get to 45. And so when he decided to go back up to 55, I think he's actually looked better at 55 than he has. And the Kiefer Crosby fight is one of those perfect fights for him. I believe Kiefer lost his last fight.
He did. He lost it to Charlie Leary.
Yes, he did. Where he was winning the fight, I think, in the first round. Then
it's hard to beat a zombie.
Yes, he was just walking forward like he was a Korean zombie type. Leary is. He's someone that just takes punishment all night long in the fight, and then for somehow, some way, gets the win towards the end.
Dude, I have said it forever. Since the first time that I watched Charlie Leary fight, I'm watching him and go, he's not very good. And then I'm watching him and go, God damn, he's tough.
Yeah.
God damn, that dude can take some damage. God damn, he's still coming. Oh my God, he's going to win this fight.
Yeah.
And every time I watch him, he does the same thing. He lets you tee off on him. He takes it. He gives back what he can. And eventually he's wearing you down and getting the win.
Bellator's version of Darren Elkins.
Oh, yes. He absolutely is.
Bellator's version of Darren Elkins. It's so great.
And that's, and the funny thing is, like, you look at Kiefer, and that was a loss. His only other loss was a DQ loss. He was destroying the guy, and he threw a knee as the guy was falling down. They called him a down fighter. But, that's his first true loss, is the way I look at it. And I think he learned a big lesson from that fight because he thought, hey, if I put my hands on someone, it doesn't matter who it is, they're going to go out. And then you'll run into that guy. You'll put those same shots on him, and he just keeps snorting and coming forward. You've got to be able to take a step back, get a breath of air, relax in the fight, and then just say, I'm just going to keep touching you. I'm just going to keep coming after you. I'm not going to put that extra steam on this like I've been doing because that's going to wear me out. I think Kiefer learned from that fight with Charlie Leary.
Yeah, because he had Leary rocked.
Oh, yeah.
In that fight, and then he just wasn't able to put him away. And then when it came back out to it, it was just, man, there was nothing left in the tank. And you could just see he just was exhausted from that. So that's going to be, to me, I think that fight right there is with Kiefer.
The one before it, Brian Pikeman Moore, who is a teammate of Kiefer Crosby, against Jordan. I'm gonna win Winsky.
I'm gonna Winsky.
I'm gonna Winsky.
His nickname is I'm gonna.
I'm gonna. I love that nickname. But he's a good fighter, man. He's 11-2. He's out of Dan Henderson's Team Quest in Temecula. The guy can fight. He can fight everywhere. He's fun, and he's a last-minute replacement. And he's replacing Jared Scoggins' completely different style, which is tough on Brian Moore. But Brian Moore being the guy he is, I don't care. I just want to fight. So he's taking the fight. But that is a tough switch up for Brian Moore.
Yeah, I would agree. Brian Moore, though, he's got hands. He's always dealing with some issues, though. His hands always break. He's always in a lot of trouble. Yep. I mean, who was the other kid something McDonald?
Oh, Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald used to break his hands all the time. He basically just had to retire because of that situation.
His last fight in Bellator broke his hands. I'm done.
Yeah, he's like, I just can't do it anymore, man. His hands are breaking every time he punches. He should have been on the movie Glass. But, you know, that's really what it comes down to right now is that's going to be, like you were saying, I think that's going to be a really good fight. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good fight. Brian Moore, though, with the boxing, a little bit of the wrestling, good takedown defense. He's not bad on the top position. No. Off his back, he's not that great. He's okay getting up. He's okay getting up, but he's not great at getting up either.
But he is the Irish Canelo. He goes to the body. Yeah. He's got a gorgeous left hook to the body. He throws some beautiful overhand right the same way Canelo does, so I call him the Irish Canelo as far as his boxing and the way he approaches, the way he sets up his strikes is very Canelo-like.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch him. It's going to be fun to watch him get back in the cage. He hasn't fought in a long time. I think it's been about since pre-COVID, I think is before he fought.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
He hasn't fought since COVID hit. So it's been about 15, 18 months, something like that. So what other fights on here spark your interest?
Oh, man, you got to love the
I don't even want to say that guy's last name. Kassan, it's Zabit's brother.
Magomed Sharaparov.
There you go. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not working the desk.
That's Kassan. And his fight against, I think he's too good for his opponent. I think that's a fight where his opponent's got to have that supreme effort to get the win. It's a fight where they're both coming in. There's not a whole lot behind either one as far as the expectation, but Kassan is good. He's not quite what his brother is. You know, he's got a long ways to go for that. Yeah. But he's good, and he's
still undefeated though.
Yes, he is. But I think I'm really looking forward to that. Let's go to the main card. Goichi Yamayuchi against Chris Gonzalez. Chris Gonzalez being on a guy from the USA National Greco-Roman team. This guy can wrestle. He's a physical specimen. He's fast. He's got good stand-up now. He's done very well, but not quite the stand-up that, you know, he might need. But Goichi's the guy that he doesn't try to take people down. He doesn't try to do anything fancy. He got a little bit of a karate stance, and he's got a phenomenal submission game. This might be the one where you take a look and go, Chris can win this fight, but he does need to fight smart. Can he fight smart for up to the 3 rounds?
So what happened, from what I hear from the backdoor rumblings in this situation, Chris wanted to step up in competition to get him into that top 5, top 10 area. The issue is that they sent him over, you know, hey, these 3 guys are available to fight right now. You know, and they picked him. They picked Goichi, and I'm thinking to myself, Chris, you're such a good wrestler. You have a tendency to, when you do get tired, you have a tendency to wrestle. Yes. And guys like Goichi just wait for that to happen. Yeah. And they think to themselves, all I got to do is wait for you to go ahead and shoot a shitty shot. When you're tired and I latch onto your neck, or I scoot out to the back, or I do whatever it is to get to you, it's going to happen. Oh. And so as much, I'm thinking to myself, bro, you're undefeated. Why? Like, there's a lot of other guys who were in that weight class that you could have probably potentially have fought. I heard there was a couple names that were thrown out. I want to say there's 3 of them. But this is the guy that his camp picked. So they must have seen something. But here's the problem with Yamayuchi, though. Everybody sees something with him. Yeah. And what do they all do? They say, oh, no, don't worry. I'm not going to.
I've seen that.
He can't take me down.
Yeah, I know he's good there, but I'm comfortable with this. And all of a sudden they're tapping.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, and then what he's phenomenal at is getting to your back. And once he gets to your back, it's just almost like
he does smart things. Did you? I don't know if you remember the fight. He was fighting in Japan against Darren Cruikshank, and he's almost on the back, almost gets the back, and he's up against the cage, and he pushes. He's got a hold with a seatbelt. He pushes off of the cage to dump Darren onto the ground and just hooks up the back and gets the rear naked choke from there. And you just go, that's a smart fighter. That's fight IQ, knowing where you're at and what you can do just fantastic awareness of where he's at and what is possible from that position.
So here's another fight that most people don't know, and I didn't even realize, 'cause I haven't been to AK in a while, but Islam Mamedov, he was fighting in PFL, and then now he is signed with Bellator. He is fighting Brent Primus. Tough fight for him.
I think so.
I've trained with him a lot. He's good. He's a good wrestler. He's got good striking, but he's a waiter.
He's solid everywhere, but
Yep.
he's very controlling.
Yep.
He's not real fast. He doesn't have that, like, you're going to watch Usman Nurmagomedov and how crisp his striking is and everything. He's good with his stand-up, technically good, but not real fast as far as his strikes and getting, shots out on guys. Good controlling ground game. He's got good submissions, but he's going against a guy that's really good with submissions and really big for the weight class. My only downside on Brent Primus, if I'm going to say a downside, is he just doesn't fight enough.
Yeah.
I've said it forever. He's now 36 years of age. He's been fighting for over 10 years, and he's got 11 fights.
Yeah. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. That's been the biggest knock on him for real. And when we're talking about these two, here's the one thing is I've trained with Islam in terms of with leg kicks, he's not the best at stuffing them and stopping them or checking them. So that's one thing. We know that Brent Primus has a very hard leg kick. Yep. So on top of that, though, maybe Islam can get him to the ground. So he's one of the main training partners for Islam Makhachev, was one of the main training partners for Khabib, one of the main training partners for me towards the end of my career. He was really good. He's good on the ground. He's not like Islam Makhachev's.
He's not that level.
Yeah, he's not that level on the ground, but he is good on the ground. He's got good wrestling. He's got good, good sambo, but it's not Islam's strength either. So it really kind of puts into perspective like where he will be in this fight if he comes in. I think on the feet he's a little bit better than Brent Primus on the ground on the feet, but on the ground I'm going to give it to Brent Primus.
Yeah, and I'm going to say he may be technically a little bit better than Brent in the stand-up. He doesn't have his power.
No, he doesn't.
Brent actually hits much harder than Islam. And on the ground, I think Brent is quite a bit better as far as submission-wise. Maybe not wrestling-wise, but submission-wise and being a danger on the ground. So for me, Islam's going to have to land that shot that kind of hurts Brent, puts him in a bad position. He gets in the top position. If he gets in the top position, he can do damage from that. But he's still going to have to work at keeping some of the submissions because the Primus his submission game is a full tool belt. He goes for the go-go platas. He goes for the triangles. He goes for all the different types of submissions. He's not that one-trick pony. He's good with all of them.
But here's the one thing that I will say, John. This is a 3-round fight. In 3 rounds, Islam, one factor that he can do is he can control Brent Primus on the ground for 3 rounds.
Maybe.
That could possibly happen because we've seen, though, that Brent Primus is okay with just hanging out on his back, trying to hit submissions. And if they're not getting there, he has no desire to get back to his feet, which could be could end up working against him in this type of fight.
You're absolutely right.
So, but then, hey, you have Usman Nurmagomedov, which is Khabib's cousin. Little Umar, it's Umar's brother. So that fight right there is a phenomenal fight as well. So I want to see.
Well, he's going against a dog.
Yeah, he's going against a dog.
Murrow.
So that's the thing is you want someone that, look, I think I want to see someone, Manny Murrow is going to try to walk him down, try to throw big shots. He's not going to try to wrestle with him at all, I don't think. He's going to try to basically just touch him and kick him and punch him. He's going to try to make it a dog fight. Yeah. Because we've seen with Usman and we've seen with, Usman reminds me a little bit of his brother Umar, is that they had that karate style stand up. Yeah. And they got the kind of more of the snappy kicks. But they've got good sambo, good foot sweeps, good throws, but how do they?
He doesn't like to use them though.
He doesn't like to use them though. And then how is he going to fight? Is he going to fight as well on his back foot?
You know that Manny Murrow is going to come forward. That's who he is. He's a guy that's going to make this just a nasty, grindy fight. He had the fight against Nick Newell, and he beat Nick Newell by just being a nasty guy who came forward, crushed space. Got, Nick, who usually does really well against the cage with, dirty boxing and things like that, beat him there. He's the guy that you've got, this is another zombie. Yeah. Manny Murrow's a guy that coming at you, he just does not stop. You've got to hurt him. You've got to make him pay for that forward motion. But let's just be honest, Usman, he's got the talent to do that. In the stand-up, he is sharp. He understands range. He's very accurate with his shots. He loves the stand-up. He's got good wrestling, and he's got a good submission game, and he's got a phenomenal ground and pound. He is dangerous on top. He just doesn't like to use his wrestling.
Yeah.
He would rather stand up and make it a kickboxing affair, thinking that, hey, I'm better than you. I'm just going to piece you up. That's what he likes to do. So he's going to have the guy that's going to come forward and give him that opportunity.
Yeah, but in his debut, in Usman's debut in Bellator, the only thing that concerned me is that his last opponent was throwing the 1s and 2s, trying to get after him. He was able to touch Usman a little bit on the feet. Had he thrown a 3 and a 4, finished with a leg kick or finished with something like that, it might have ended up being a lot closer, a different fight.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing with Manny Muro is that he will throw things at all different angles, and he will throw them all the time. He will not just stop at 1 and 2. He'll throw 3 and 4. And those are the ones that usually land. And look, I'm not saying that Manny Muro's going to beat him. What I'm saying, though, is it's going to make it a more of an interesting fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. If there's one thing I know out of Manny watching too many times, look, this is a guy, Native American Indian, who's proud of his heritage, and he will frickin' die on his sword going after you. He will never stop coming, and you've got to put him away. We'll see if Usman can do that.
Got it.
John.
Mayo Sanchez and Mads Bernal.
Yes, what?
Bernal.
And John, just don't bang a table or you're going to die on your sword.
Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed up.
Yeah, John's been banging the table, shaking the camera. Guys, jeez, amateur hour over here.
Yeah, well.
We've got a Mayo
It's a new setup for me. I can bang on my table.
No, actually you can't. It shakes the camera. But we just don't say anything because we're nice. We understand you're old. We tell you a bunch of times, don't remember. Okay, Mayo Sanchez versus Mads Bernal.
Wow, both of Mads Bernal is on a high right now, man. He's on fire, and he just had a fantastic performance against Sal Rogers.
Yep.
He made Saul look average, and that's not easy to do.
No.
And he got the submission win over him. His submission game is just outstanding, and I always go back to the Japanese necktie because he's so good at setting it up and getting that technique. And the one thing I love about him is he's the guy that he won't hang on to something that he knows, I might not have this. He'll let go of it and he'll go to something else. He doesn't sit there with something that is either I've lost it and I'm going to try to get it back. He doesn't do that. Let's move on. And I'll come back to this again. And he's got that kind of ground game where he's dangerous at all moments on the ground. And you look at Emmanuel Sanchez. Emmanuel's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now. Under Daniel Vanderlei, he's now kind of training with Lovato Jr., and he's in a position where he needs this win, man. He's coming off of the featherweight Grand Prix. He had a first round loss to Patricio in the semifinals, which has put Patricio into this finals matchup with AJ. But Emmanuel Sanchez is a dog, man. I love the way he goes after a fight. I love the way he pushes the pace on the fight. I think him pushing the pace on Mads Bernal is a good way to take away some of that ground game that he has. If you're making it effective, you can get him tired. But you've got to get him tired. And you don't get into these wars where you're up against the cage. A lot of times, Emmanuel will use those to wear guys down, stay to the outside, make him move, make him be on his back foot. Emmanuel Sanchez is the full package, and he's a gamer to the end, but he needs to be very careful on the ground. I don't care if you're a black belt or not. This guy is at a different level when it comes to a submission, so you always got to be careful.
Yeah, like you said, you brought up the Japanese necktie, which is one of the things with Emmanuel Sanchez working with Lovato Jr. He uses that Lucas Leite half guard to get back up to his feet. Well, that falls right into that Japanese necktie. I've grappled with Mads Bernal, and he's gotten the Japanese necktie on me. He's threatened it a bunch of times. He's tied on that thing, man. And I use the half guard a lot to get back up to my feet, and it falls right into.
It's a great sweep.
You're falling right into what he's looking for you to do. Now, Emmanuel Sanchez is also very good off of his back. He's got a good armbar triangle game. He's very active with it. He has that. People don't give Anthony Pettis enough credit for his jiu-jitsu off of his back from the guard position.
Yes.
So Emmanuel Sanchez has that same type of feel to him. He attacks the armbar real fast. He attacks the triangle real fast. He makes transition from one to the next really fast. He'll start using he also uses the half guard a little bit to get back to his feet. Those are all great, but that one situation where if he tries to use that half guard to get back to his feet, could fall right into that Japanese necktie against Mads Bernal. So it's going to be a good fight. I wonder what what his confidence level is.
Yeah.
Coming after that loss, because I know it was really disappointing to him. He really believed that he was going to beat Patricio.
Yeah.
And especially after their first fight going 5 rounds, and I wouldn't say it was controversial, but people were staking there. At least he was, and I think
his,
some of the
his
people,
corner was feeling that he won, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But they're kind of a little bit biased. That's just the way
you
it
don't
is.
say. You don't
It's
say.
the way it is when that's your fighter. But but he had a great fight. He had a great 5-round fight with Patricio. I thought he lost. I thought he went into the final round even on the cards. I thought he lost the last round, but it was close, and that was a championship fight. And he thought that he had fixed those differences that he needed to make. But he got hit with a shot. When you get hit with a shot, I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
Someone grabs your neck and you're not prepared to defend it. He went out. It happens.
Yeah, I think he was out before they even hit the ground.
Basically, about the time they hit the ground.
Yeah, by the time they hit the ground. All right, so Patricio Pitbull versus Aj Mckee. Look, I mean, I've been saying this for the last couple months. Biggest fight in Bellator history, and I will stand by this 100%. Is it probably one of the biggest featherweight fights in history as well. And people are going to just go ahead and knock on me on this, but we just sat down with Shab as well. We were actually talking about some of the best fights. Let's just talk real quick about some of the best.
We were pointing him out because he was like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "Oh, really? Well, let me point out some
about
it."
Right, so let's talk Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor would probably be number one. Right?
That was a huge one.
That was a huge one. Definitely a huge one, given everything that was going on, plus then the way it was finished, 13 seconds. Exactly. So that fight. Then I would say number 2, probably Max Holloway and Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
I would say that was probably number 2.
Yeah, fantastic.
If you get beyond that, I don't really know.
Volkanovski
and Max.
Volkanovski and Max 2.
In 2, right?
Yeah.
2. So great. So those 3 fights I would put in the top 3 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be the greatest.
You don't know.
We don't know yet.
Could be the worst.
Not, yeah. And I would also maybe even put, what was the second one? I think it was second Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo.
Well,
the second one was a great fight. The first one was, remember, he got knocked out. I think the first one. The second one was a good fight.
The Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo was the second one when he got hit by the knee.
I thought that was the first one.
Oh, that was the first one.
That was the first
one. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
That was great. Yeah. Very nice.
Observe this.
Both of his fights against Aldo were actually good though.
Yeah, they were.
They were good matches. But you can go farther back and you can take a look at some of the matchups that were there. Think of Mike Brown. No one thinks of Mike Brown as a fighter. Okay, he's a great coach at ATT.
Amazing,
phenomenal
coach.
Guy.
One of the best in the business.
His fight against Uriah Faber the first time, just a phenomenal job of a guy taking over a big name guy. He just overcame everything that was there that was a problem and just kept going. And just
is that where Uriah tried to hit that back elbow and he knocked him out? That Mike Brown.
No, that was the second one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, was that the first one?
I thought it was the first one.
That was the first one.
Okay,
yeah, that was the one. That was the one from Florida. That was the same one that Chael had the fight against
Paulo Filo
the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first time he won it. That was in Florida. And then he came back and he won the second time when Uriah broke both hands fighting him. So, but, both of those were good fights. But then you can go even farther back. There was, there's all kinds of those where you take a look at. Take a look at the Mark Hominick versus Jose Aldo.
Oh, that was a good fight.
Great fight. Aldo did phenomenal in the first couple of rounds.
First 3 rounds.
In fourth round was kind of losing. And fifth round, Mark Hominick comes on and hurts him and puts him on his back. And there's been some great fights. But you take a look, this one, just on the face value, if they perform the way they can both perform, this can be one of those fights.
Yeah. I want to know, though, is where do you put them in terms of... First off, let me go back to what you were just talking about. I think that those are the top 3, the 3 fights that I said.
We talked about,
and I think this is probably in that 4. It's in that mix of number 3. But it really depends.
But those fights happened, so you had an idea. But you're talking about the build up to them.
I'm not talking about the build. I'm talking about the actual hey, these fights. When it comes to, if I'm going to say what are the best 145-pound fights we could put together.
Okay.
This would be one of them.
Yeah.
Because you have someone who has been the dog, who's been the champion for the longest time, and you've got this young up-and-comer who has never been defeated, and who has been noted of saying to him, hey, I'm coming for you. That's TikTok. And that's how long ago. That was 4 or 5 years ago. That's how long ago Patricio's been champion. So there's a lot to be said in terms of the champion hasn't faltered in 4 or 5 years, and this young stud hasn't faltered either in 4 or 5 years. It's, in terms of name value across the sport, look, when people talk about Bellator, they talk about Douglas Lima, they talk about MVP, they talk about Patricio, and they talk about Aj Mckee. I mean, when I'm going through the names of people that come off when the media is going to cover this event or cover Bellator at all, they're talking about one of those guys.
Usually.
I mean, it went a little while for Ryan Bader. Then when he lost to Nemkov, I kind of petered out a little bit. And then now, and then obviously now with AJ, Anthony Johnson, and Yoel Romero, but Yoel hasn't made his debut yet. Anthony Johnson is in the semifinals against Nemkov. So AJ will be a name for sure that they bring up. Nemkov will be a name they for sure bring up. But neither one of them, even with AJ's stardom in previous UFCs and all this other stuff, they still are not. I don't think in terms of when it comes to to Bellator, AJ Mckee and Patricio are the two biggest names that they talk about.
Yeah,
in Bellator.
I would agree with you. I just look at it this way. If you took the 145-pound division as a whole, take away the promotions, and you tried to intertwine them and mix them, it's going to be where AJ and Patricio both will end up in the top 5. Now, I'm not saying that Volkanovski wouldn't be number 1, we'll say, since, where he's at, and Max Holloway wouldn't be there, and Brian Ortega wouldn't be there. But you're going to be hard-pressed to put other people above Patricio. And you're going to be hard-pressed to put someone in there besides AJ. So you're talking about two guys that are definitely within the top, definitely in the top 10, probably top 5 in the world at featherweight facing off. One of them with an undefeated record. And that says a whole lot. That undefeated record, people you look at, and a lot of times you can look at it and say, yeah, but take a look. There's a lot of AJ has fought a lot of good people. And this tournament has proved something about who he is as a fighter. When you look and you go, he went through, a guy that was the World Series of Fighting champion in Georgi Karhanian in 8 seconds. And I mean, starched him.
Yeah.
All right. Then he goes through Derek Campos. He blows out his knee in the first round. He actually blows his wad because he tries to put on another spectacular performance and finds that, you just can't get rid of tough people right away, but guts it out and gets a beautiful submission victory, gets the armbar off of the triangle. And so two fights, 2 stoppages, 2 wins, 2 finishes, and then his third one against Darian Caldwell, an ex-champion at the bantamweight level, a guy who stepped up, was a 149-pound NC2A champion in wrestling from North Carolina State, and then puts on a submission that a whole lot of people had never seen before. The neck crank that he used, we call it now the McKeown, even though it's not a teen, but that was done at just 1 minute and 1 minute 11 seconds of the first round. All right. 3 fights, 3 finishes.
Yep.
All coming into this. And you just look and you go, he's becoming more dangerous in every area. His striking is better. He's fast. He's long. And coming into this fight, you look at him, just if you look at, statistically their statures, he's huge compared to Pitbull. We're talking about a 74-inch reach compared to probably a 66.
Yeah.
That's big. And then you're talking speed difference and everything. This kid has it all. He's been part of the fight game throughout his entire life because of his dad. He has matured now. He understands what it takes to be one of the guys in the top level of this sport. And he's putting in all the hard work. He's putting in the effort. And he has called this for this fight for a long time. This is what he wanted. Now's your opportunity. You're either going to take this and grab it and run with it, or you're going to let it pass you by. Which one's it going to be? Yeah,
if I put, like you were saying, if you put the top 5 featherweights in the world, I'd have to include Patricio and AJ Mckee in there. And look, and what people need to understand is that it has nothing to do with whether, even if you put them at 4 and 5, go ahead and do that. But when you're talking about putting up matchups, you are splitting hairs when it comes down to who matches up well with who.
Sure.
Okay, so we talked about this on Food Truck Diaries today, is that I put Volk, I put Patricio over Volk. But that doesn't mean that Patricio is going to beat Max or beat Brian Ortega.
That's right.
But I put AJ Mckee right there with Brian Ortega and with Max Holloway. Now, I also think that Brian Ortega, for all of them, is probably the most dangerous one because of his grappling.
I think he's the most dangerous for
all of them.
Yeah,
if you're intermixing them, that's what we were talking about. He's the one that poses the most threat if you're to match him up against every single one of them because he's phenomenal jiu-jitsu.
And you could also look at him all probably the least formidable as far as physically imposing of all of them.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So when it comes down, look at him like, oh man, that's the guy. Look how athletic he looks. Look how explosive he is. No, he's just super talented and he uses all the tools that he has to his benefit. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is fucking phenomenal. His takedown defense and his wrestling is is pretty damn good as well. And he can take a shot, as we saw in the Max Holloway fight. And now that he's gotten better with his stand-up, he's a full range fighter now. Yeah. So I think when you look at him versus Volkanovski, I'm sitting here going, I don't see how Volk wins this fight. But then again, I counted Volk out both times against Max Holloway, and look where it got me. So, but in terms of with these two, with Patricio and with AJ, I think it really is going to come down to Patricio's going to take the center of the cage, and he's going to wait for AJ to make a mistake. And if he can do that, and he's able to land a couple clean shots, I think he might be able to get AJ out of there. But AJ with the speed, the reach, and the athleticism to get in and out, he can afford to falter a slightly here and there against Patricio, but he's got to be very careful because of the power of Patricio. So when you're talking, it really comes down to who makes the biggest mistake and who can capitalize on it at that moment.
That really what it comes down to in the way I look at the fight is AJ is the guy. We talk faster. He's a better athlete. And that's just
let's just
but Patricio is the guy that has learned how to fight.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean AJ doesn't know how to fight, but it means that Patricio has learned all of the things that good fighters understand of I don't have to win every second. I don't have to hit somebody back because they hit me. I just have to wait for my opportunity to do what I do. And if there's one thing that I look at that I think is an advantage for Patricio in this matchup is AJ takes chances at times. He's young. He's brash. He knows he's athletic. He knows he's explosive. He knows I can get myself out of anything. Yeah. And he takes a chance. And if he takes that kind of chance that puts him in a bad spot against Patricio, Patricio is going to make him pay. And that's what a smart fighter does.
Is this a Canelo Mayweather situation?
It might be.
But I feel like the only thing with Canelo and Mayweather jumped on Canelo when he was still really young.
Yes.
Whereas right now, I think Aj Mckee has matured. I think if he would have jumped on him in the beginning of the tournament, we'd have been looking at a different fighter.
It might have been a little different there, but if you go back a couple of years, and I can tell you the changing point, when Aj Mckee fought Brian Moore in Ireland, he was the main event. I think it was the first time he was the main event. That was the difference maker fight in Aj Mckee's career. That's the one that told him, I cannot just be the better athlete. I cannot get away without doing the things that I need to do in the gym and come in here and perform and win against people that are good. This is a guy that I actually should have put away easily. And he took me to the third round. He hurt me. He cut me. He caused me problems. I've just learned a lesson that I will never forget. And he has changed as a fighter from that point. And that's been that was the key turning point in his career. Yes, he was undefeated, but he was still young and immature as far as fighting. That was the fight that I go, there's your difference maker. That fight taught him a lesson, one that he learned and one that has changed him as a fighter.
Yeah. Very good. Hey, this is going to be on Showtime Saturday night, not Friday night. But hey, let's first go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code weighing in. But also, let's check on these odds real quick. Let's see what these odds are.
Are we weighing in on the odds?
Yes, we are weighing in on the odds. Let's check it out. Huh? Weighing in on the odds. What is? I can't read it from here, Dave. I got 50-year-old eyes.
Oh, so, no, they're 50. I love that.
I can't even still see it. Okay, so Patricio and Aj Mckee. Patricio is I think it's pretty much even
You're almost
odds.
Dead even, man.
Yeah, I still can't see it, John. So I think it's what does that say? 125, 105?
Minus 125 and 105, yep.
105 and 125.
120. And there's no over under on it.
But if you're looking at it, it's the way that it is. That's minus 105 for Aj Mckee and plus 125 for Patricio.
No.
First off, they got the wrong name on there. It should be Patricio.
Yeah,
I love that. Is that a plus 125?
I think it's a minus.
Minus, both minus.
Yeah. Both are minus. Okay.
Pretty much even.
Yeah.
So look at that. Then you also got Emmanuel Sanchez and Mads Bernal. And then that's both, I think, what? Mads is plus 110.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel Sanchez is minus 140, it looks like.
So Emmanuel's the favorite in that. And he probably should be.
He should be.
Okay, that's normal.
Usman is a plus 800.
Minus 800.
Oh, sorry, minus 800. Minus 800. I can't see, man, but I should have known. I should have known right off the bat. So minus 800 and plus 500 for Manny Murrow.
You see, you know why that's a minus 800? You see that last name?
Yeah.
The odds makers see that name and they go, "Oh no!"
They just go, "Yeah, okay."
I'm not even
okay, let's not mess with that. Oh, and then you have what else? Keep going down. I can't see. Oh, those are some of the UFC fight. Or no,
that's it.
No, that's it.
That's good.
That's pretty much good right there. All right. Well, hey,
so what do you think? If you were betting.
I'm not betting on any of those fights. I'm not betting on any of those fights.
I love that.
I'm not taking a chance. I think Usman, he's still really good, but I think I want to see him get a little bit more ring time, in his new promotion, because he's been with Bellator now for only one fight. I want to see him get a little bit more ring time, and before I start putting some big, that's a lot of money, man. Plus 800. I mean, minus 800. No,
you got to put $800 down to win 100.
Doesn't work. Yeah. So I mean, other than that,
well, if you got your kind of money, you can do that.
If I was gonna bet on one of those fights, I'd probably bet on Emmanuel Sanchez and Mads Burnell. But if I was, in as much as I think that Emmanuel Sanchez should be the favorite, I'd probably go with Mads.
Yeah, because you're betting. I always say bet underdogs. If you're gonna bet, find the one that he's the guy that he's the underdog in the fight, and you're getting a better odd. That's who you go with.
Yep. There we go. All right, guys, go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in. They give you a little extra spending cash. Okay, and enjoy it. Look, I don't know. Maybe you can, but you should be able to bet on some of the Olympics.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Why not?
Well, anyways,
probably should.
I mean, if not, you guys can hit up. You guys can also bet on the UFC. UFC.
That's a good college.
The UFC
we're in
on
town.
the Strickland and Hall fight.
This is USC's area, man.
So go ahead and check that out. Dave, what else you got for us, man, on some news?
All right, hopping in some news. Jake Paul is out saying that he's already been in touch with Conor McGregor's camp, and there's talk of a boxing fight actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, look, it just comes down to the reality of this, John. There's no reason for him to fight MMA anymore. He needs to fight someone. If he gets a win over Jake Paul and he wins, which I want to know, like we were talking with Brennan a little bit earlier today, is what weight are they going to fight at?
It just doesn't make sense when you look at it. You've got not quite the disparity that his brother Logan and Floyd had. But you're talking the biggest that Conor's ever fought at was 170. Okay, as far as his official weigh-in weight, and the lowest that Jake Paul has ever done it was 190. So Jake Paul, if they were going to fight, is going to walk into the ring at 205 to 215 pounds, where Conor at his biggest is going to weigh what, 180?
Yeah, probably 80.
Okay, you're giving up a whole lot of weight there, man.
I think from everything that we're hearing, man, Jake Paul is, you said one of your buddies that trains with him, knows him. He's a former world champion, talks very highly, says, no, he can actually box. Yeah. He's like, look, I'm not saying he's going to be world champion. He's like, what I'm saying, though, is that he can actually box.
And the other part is this, and this is one of the things he says, one of the things people need to understand is this is not a hobby for this kid. It may be for his brother, but it's not for Jake. Jake is living boxing. He wants to be good at boxing. He doesn't do this just as a money grab because, I can do this and I can box. He goes, it's important to him, and his record is important to him. His brother's already got losses. He goes, Jake is different. Jake cares, and Jake is in this to win.
Interesting.
So
I guess we'll find out. But I mean, I think for Conor, it's a dumb situation. I think you just need to sit on your $400 million and ride off into the sunset, man. Just lay in bed and just go, you know what? I have fuck you money. And just
he's already said that.
Yeah, don't even bother.
Good for him.
I think you should just not even bother with the sports anymore.
He's got a Lamborghini yacht.
Yeah, I know. Something you and I will never have.
Thank you very much. We said we'll never be on one either.
Probably not.
I'd like just to be on one.
Probably not.
It doesn't even have to go out of the harbor.
Yeah.
I just want to tool around. Just putt-putt.
I mean, after some of Conor's latest tweets, I don't plan on ever being on his. But
no.
All right, let's go. What else you got for us there, Dave?
There was a tweet that came out from One Championship.
From One or from Arjun?
It came out from looks like One.
Oh, One asked who they should have, who would they would like to have him sign next, correct?
Yeah. And then Stipe kind of gave like the little question mark emoji, and then Arjun Singh came out and said, basically taunted Stipe. And so it's just kind of interesting that, there's all the speculation that Stipe might sign with One.
Well, I mean, he's not happy there. He hasn't been happy there for the longest time, and I understand why. And as much as I like to, everyone thinks I like to rag on Stipe, I've said the reasons why is that the UFC didn't like him. They didn't really care for him as their champion because he complained about a lot of things vocally, and he was very public about it. And then he also didn't want to fight sometimes. He's like, yeah, I'm going to sit this out, or I'm going to take some time. that as a champion, like people just the UFC doesn't care for that.
No,
like once you get to that level, they want to see you fight as much as possible so they can make money off you. And I wasn't ragging. I'm not trying to rag on him. I'm just being very honest from a promoter standpoint on what they were thinking. Like, hey, you don't want to fight right now, okay, or you're busy doing this, or you just want to be champion for a while, but you don't want to fight. Well, we can't do anything with you being champion for a while. We need you to fight so we can make our money back. You know what I mean? Like they put a lot of money into marketing you, and then that's the deal. I really love the idea of him going to 1, and I think it's a phenomenal idea because I think it's good for these other promotions, all promotions, to let their fighters there experience what it's like to fight someone who obviously has fought in the UFC, because then they'll realize that, you know what, they're all just as, I wouldn't say they're all just as good, but some of them are. You know, and so I think Stipe going over there would be a very eye-opening situation, but he's not going there for at least 2 fights. He just lost his title.
Hello.
He's got a 2-fight extension.
Hello.
So I get what Stipe's saying, but let's just remember, now that he's done this publicly, they will wait to fight him. They will wait as long as they can. Plus on top of his contract running out, like after he fights 2 fights, he has like another probably 90-day or 120-day.
A 90-day.
Yeah, 90-day extension on there. It says he has to only strictly negotiate with them. So, I mean, you're looking at 2 more years. They can just offer him 1 fight per year.
Which makes him, what, 39 years old?
Something like that, yeah. You know, so it's not looking good. I mean, like, if he did go, he wouldn't go for 2 years. And so this is all just, to me, it's hogwash.
All right, first off,
unless they release him.
I love me some Stipe. I think Stipe is a great freaking fighter. I think he's
John,
a great
I like
person.
him too. Don't try and stir the pot, man.
So
I like him too.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Dan Cormier is a better athlete, okay? But the truth of the matter is exactly what. He's not the guy that the UFC is comfortable with, even in the role of their champion. And he's got other things to go with. And if he decides to leave the UFC, I think that's great. If that's what he can do and he can make more money, do it. You know, I'm all for it. But like you said, it's not going to happen for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, he would not be able to get that fight, be it in ONE, be it in PFL, be it in Bellator. He's not going to be able to get that fight for a couple of years because they've got him under contract. And unless they let him go, which I don't see them doing, it's just not going to happen.
You know, I honestly could kind of see them letting him go.
Dude, I do not. No way. Come on. How often do you see them letting a heavyweight go? I
agree, because there's so very few and far between.
And especially one off of his last fight, he was champion.
I get what you're saying. But he also is just, I think what's going to make him really stay there is because he's been the longest reigning champion, I believe, like the most successful defenses.
The most defenses.
Most defenses. I think that's the only reason why, because they don't want him to go somewhere else and then lose and be like, oh yeah, your longest reigning. That would be the only reason. I think that's the one step reason why they won't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Ain't happening.
But they strongly dislike him. They don't like him.
What is to dislike? Well, I mean, seriously,
this is a promotion. This is what?
Because he has a brain and and he'll actually speak his mind.
John,
it's crazy.
There's a time and a place to speak your mind. Okay? Honestly, on social media, when you're unhappy, like I was unhappy with the UFC almost the whole time I was with them. Even before I fought Nate, I was unhappy with them. They signed me, I was unhappy with them. Like it was like the whole
That's
situation.
That's because you had been there and you didn't want to go back.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go back, but it was just like I was unhappy with them from then. It was just that. You just you keep it in, man. Just keep it to yourself and move on. Yeah. That's the thing. Now that they know that he's interested in going there, they're gonna drag out.
That won't happen.
They're gonna drag out his 2 fights for the longest time. Man. All right, what else you got for us, Dave?
There's a report came out that Tai Tuivasa and Walt Harris are gonna be fighting at UFC.
Okay, that is the stupidest fight ever.
Why?
Come on, man. Why in the world are you taking Walt Harris, a guy that has had some difficulties in his personal life? He's had difficulties in the cage. He hasn't been fighting at that level with confidence or anything. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. Yeah. And you're going to put him, a guy that if he doesn't get this guy out in the first 3-4 minutes, he's in trouble. Ty's going to frickin' start to take over and knock him out. Why are you doing that to a guy that could actually be? And this is the problem with being in the UFC. And I'm not saying anything bad about the UFC, but when you're that fighter, you're going to have to go against guys like this. And if you're Walt Harris, he's in a position, ties on a 3-fight win streak and Walt's on a 3-fight losing streak. It just doesn't make sense.
I would have liked to have seen Walt Harris versus Greg Hardy. It would have been good. Would have been fun. Both of them really don't have cardio past one round, maybe one.
You got all kinds of guys in the heavyweight division of the UFC that you could put Walt Harris against and give him a fight where if he's done, it's gonna be seen. But if he fights just smart and within himself, he's gonna be able to be successful in that matchup. Why do you not want to get this guy back? This is a guy that, he's a good athlete. He's a good striker. He doesn't have the greatest ground game in the world, but he's someone that you can actually continue to build on. But you're throwing him to the wolves now.
Well, how do you build on him, John? He's 38 years old.
Yeah, but he's
38.
But he hasn't had a whole lot of times when he's been thumped. He doesn't have a ton of damage on him. He has more of emotional damage based upon instances that have occurred that are out of his control. And God bless him. I'm sorry they happened, but I don't know. I like the guy. I want to see him do well, and I just look at that fight and I go, that's not a fight for you to do well. I'm sorry.
What else you got for us, Dave?
I'm being a homer. I think
you are a homer.
There you go.
I could tell it in your voice. That's what I didn't say.
I'm a Walt Harris homer.
You didn't say. I didn't say it. You did. Okay, go
last
ahead.
piece of news is Fedor expressing interest apparently in boxing Roy Jones Jr.
Jesus.
Please, God, no.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch.
No.
I'm good, man.
I am 100% for the fight that Jake Hager has been asking for. He wants that fight in Moscow. I actually think it's a good fight for Jake. As far as Jake was a real good amateur wrestler. He comes from the University of Oklahoma. He was an All-American at the heavyweight division. Yes, he does the pro. He's very much like Brock Lesnar. He didn't win the NC2A champion like Brock did, and he wasn't this spectacular monster that Brock Lesnar was. But they're very similar in the fact that, they came into MMA late. They've gone after it. Brock had his moments. He won the UFC heavyweight title, but at a time when he beat Randy, who was older and smaller, kind of crushed him. He had the one really good moment against Shane Carwin.
Yes, that was a great moment.
Well, and it was a great moment in that he was in trouble and he took shots and but he hung in there. He didn't quit, and he hung in through the end of the round and then turned that fight around and got the win. That was his shining moment in this sport, if you ask me. It was huge.
It was huge because Shane Carwin was sitting across the cage going, after the first round and ending, going, fuck, I'm screwed. He's bouncing around over there, ready to go. And he winks at Shane Carwin, and Shane Carwin goes, you get to see the look on his face. He put his head down like,
screwed.
Fuck, I'm done.
Yep.
Done.
But, I'm going to give it to Jake Hager. Jake had his fight in Bellator. He was giving some people in the beginning, you go, you should beat him. You should beat him.
Yeah.
His last fight, he proved he was a fighter. He proved what was inside of him because he could have quit in that fight. He was getting lit up.
John, when he got done with that fight, actually, while he was fighting that fight, I looked over you and I go, he may never fight again. After this. I thought
absolutely.
for sure he was.
You go,
I thought he's done.
He goes. I was wondering, is he going to come out for the third round? Because he took a lot of damage in that second round.
Yeah.
And getting off of the stool and stepping forward in that third round, at least for me, tells me, all right, brother, you're a fighter.
Yeah.
You got heart. You're not going to quit. And he came out and he won that round and he won the fight based upon it when I thought, I think he's done. So he proved he's a fighter. So he's got that in him. And you can see it that, he's got the wrestling background. He can actually be in a grappling match with Fedor. I don't think he can be on the feet, and do well with Fedor, but he's proved that he can take a good shot and not, go down. And he's proved that he's tough and he'll take a bunch of them and he won't quit. Give him a shot. This is Fedor in Moscow. It's similar to that Brock Lesnar versus Fedor that the UFC wanted to put on. That was the fight when they were trying to sign Fedor. That was the fight they were going to put him in against. And I said, that's a fight that Brock will lose. You're making a big mistake, if you're going to do it. And then they put, Brock against this guy named Cain Velasquez. And I told them that was a mistake, and they said I was wrong. So,
man, Cain was a sab.
Oh.
All right, what else you got?
All right, you want to do some fun questions?
Let's do.
Let's go.
We'll just do 5 of them, and then we're actually gonna film our next segment of Wayne Interjection. Let's go ahead and do these 5 fan questions.
All right. First one comes from Jake Passion Gonzalez, and he asks, if you could have one MMA fighter's life story made into a movie, who would you pick and who would play them? Furthermore, who plays Big John, Josh, and Podcast Dave?
If I could have one fighter's life and put it into a story. Oh, man. I would make, honestly,
I'm trying to give you time, man.
I would probably say either BJ Penn or Jose Aldo.
Okay, I would tell you this: if you're going to make a story off of a fighter, Jens Pulver, that'd be one of the first ones. Okay, because you're talking about a rise from nothing, a horrible existence with a father that was brutal to him, and what he made of himself. It's a great story. The other one is Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou. People do not realize what Francis Ngannou went through in leaving Cameroon without a cent, walking through deserts on his own with no food, getting to Europe and being sent all the way back and then just doing the whole thing again. He has got a story that is incredible. You listen to his story, it is unbelievable that someone actually did what he did. It's brutally, sad at times, and it's inspiring also. So he would be great. And what's the guy's name? I would use, he actually fought, I can't think of his name as an actor. He's British. I would use him as the title.
Dan Hardy? I don't know. What's the guy's name?
Iris. I want to say his name's Iris, but I can't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
who you're talking about. Go ahead. What else?
Next question is from
Next.
Next question?
Next.
Yeah, the next one.
Yeah. JPW328 asks, for Big John, are there any journalists still around from the early days? Who would you say is the veteran of MMA journalism? Is it John Morgan?
Oh, God, no. I love John Morgan, but no, if you're going to go from the very beginnings, the first guy ever, most people would not know this name, that you could say was an MMA journalist, would have been Joel Gold. He started a company called Full Contact Fighter.
Yes.
Okay. He had the very first newspaper.
Yes.
It was, it became a magazine. It was called Full Contact Fighter. And if you read that first one, he wrote it just like he talks, because he was from New York, and it was hysterical. It was actually brutally funny and horrible, but at the same time, but it was fun. But if you're going to say the guys that have been there the longest, there's two. I'm going to say Dave Meltzer is one from Wrestling Observer.
That was the guy I was going to say.
Dave Meltzer has been here forever, following the sport, talking about the sport. He's an incredible guy. The other one is Josh Gross. Josh Gross is, he's had a lot of wars with Dana. He's the guy that caused Dana to spaz out over the Ultimate Fighter 4, because it was Josh Gross that gave out the information of who are the fighters going into the finals off of that, because he learned it. And he says, if you don't want to know, turn off your sound. And he gave it. And Dana, that's what got Sherdog kicked out of being able to go to the UFCs. And this is where Dana started to actually gain control of the MMA media, was off of what Josh Gross did and the whole story behind him and Sherdog. There was Loretta Hunt, was a very good reporter who Dana ran out of the MMA journalism scene based upon some of the comments he made that, were all wrong, and treated her horribly and stuff. But I'm going to have to go with, Joel Gold was the first guy, but it was Josh Gross and Dave Meltzer. Those are the guys that have been there the longest and are still doing it.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember Dave. Dave's interviewed me 1,000 times probably.
Yeah, great guy.
What else?
Next question is from Out of Orbit. Asks, question for both. Will Aljo be able to adjust to Jan's style, or will we witness the same fight all over again?
You're going to witness something worse.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. And, what Aljo needs to do is, first off, Aljo needs to get through his own head, because no matter what he says on the outside, he knows on the inside what was happening in that cage, and he knows what he was feeling. And so he's got to get past that to say, okay, here's the things I need to do to fix it. Now he can do that. And he's a great athlete. He's a great fighter, but he's going to have to get past, the first thing is that mental block.
Yeah, but then Peter Yan, he's already super confident because he knows exactly what he was doing to him. He's like, all I had to do is just not be a bonehead and throw another knee to your face or an illegal strike or do anything illegal. He's like, I'm going to walk away with this probably 5 rounds to none. You know what I mean? Like he was dominating the fight. So it just really comes down. Maybe Aljo won the first. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Anyways, but regardless, I think Peter Yan is also, his confidence is real high right now, just knowing that Aljo doesn't want to fight him again. Next
question from
Next question.
96RS. For Josh, if you had to give one attribute to a fighter you were creating, would you pick long and lanky or a junkyard dog?
Always go with
Long and
junkyard.
lanky, baby.
Junkyard dog,
No.
brother. You can be as long and lanky as you want to be.
No.
It don't matter. If you're against a junkyard dog, you're going to whoop that ass.
Long and lanky, baby. Long and lanky. Next.
From Ice Cold, have there been any other overturned
Is this
decisions
Steve
that were-
Austin?
I love it. Ice cold. I
cold?
love it.
It's Stone Cold.
Oh, sorry.
Whatever. Same shit.
See, that's how much I know about the WWE. I apologize.
All right. Go ahead. What was the question?
Have there been any other overturned decisions that we never heard about, like the CM Punk Mike Jackson overturn?
Oh, sure. There's been a lot of overturned decisions.
Well, give me like a name value one that was overturned that maybe we didn't hear about.
All right. I'll give you.
You will normally get them, right? The ones that were kind of the ones that people have tested positive and they didn't make it public that they tested positive, so it all of a sudden turns to a no contest.
Let's talk about fight game and what happened in the fight. There was one incident. You know, we talk about your headbutt all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There was an incident between Robbie Peralta and I just lost his name, Mackin Smizer.
Okay.
And Mackin Smizer
Horrible name.
and Mackin Smizer and Robbie had a great fight going on. Third round, they both come together, and when they come together, they're both throwing, I believe, right hands at the time. And Robbie kind of stumbles back, and Mackins goes down, and Robbie goes after him and finishes. I stopped the fight, but as I looked up on the screen, I see that it was not that Robbie's punch hit Mackins, it was their heads collided, because what I see is Robbie's got a giant egg on his head. And that's what made me look like, did they clash heads? They clash heads. They go down. He finishes them. So I went to Mackin Smizer's locker room, and I told him, hey, you know, that was, you know, a clash of heads. I never saw it, and you never would see. The only way you can see it is when it was slowed down, but you could see it in slow motion. And so I told him, I said, go to the athletic commission and tell them you want to contest this, that it was a clash of the heads that caused you to be hurt. I said, I will go there and I will tell them, you know, I missed it, that, you know, you couldn't see it real time, but you can see it on the slow-mo, and it should be overturned. They overturned that one. There was another one. Chaz Skelly had the fight where he was caught. I'm trying to remember who it was against. I can't remember, but he was caught in a Darce choke, and he was trying to work his way out of it, and the referee stopped it and gave the win. And so there was actually a committee I sat on, and we talked about it and said exactly what happened, and they went and they overturned that one. That became a no contest.
Bobby Moffett,
Next.
right?
What?
I said that was Bobby Moffett, right?
Yeah, Bobby Moffett. That was it.
All right. So one more.
More.
One more.
This one's from Erko, who asks, for Big John, has there ever been a situation where you were confronted by a fighter in the back just after the fighter lost because of your stoppage?
No, I did that shit in the cage. I was like, what the fuck? This fucking guy.
I love it. You know what? Not in the fashion that people are thinking, as far as, oh, you know, the guy, you know, comes in my face or anything like that. I've gone in the back to check on guys, you know, because I actually did care, except if it was Josh. I didn't give a fuck. But it was a matter of, I would always go in the back and check on him stuff. And so there's times when, you know, guys would say, you know, John, you know, couldn't you have given me more time? And I say, you go back and look at it. Once you go back and look at it, this is what I was thinking, and this is why I stopped it. You tell me if you see something different. And that's about as bad as I've ever gotten. I really haven't had.
It's kind of hard to argue with the guy who's been doing it since like what, UFC 3?
2?
So UFC 2. I know you were there at UFC 1, but I'm saying like at UFC 2, it was your first refereeing job at UFC 2. Okay. See, that's kind of hard to argue with that. So I think for a lot of people, they're like, go back and like, hey, John, come on, can we talk about this? Like, I want to know. Not like, hey, fucker, like you did this. It's not that type of altercation in the back. All right, guys. Well, hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. I know it's a different setup for us today, but we're down here in LA.
But it's nice. Look at all that thick stuff.
Very expensive wall, by the way.
Yeah, very nice.
But yeah, so we're down here for Bellator this Saturday night on Showtime. Make sure you guys tune in. Patricio Pitbull versus.
Hey, you see this?
Yeah.
You see the crowns?
Yeah.
King. Those are for me.
Aren't they over my head? Okay. And make sure you guys tune in to Bellator this Saturday night on Showtime. So Patricio Pitbull versus Aj Mckee. That'll be a great fight. The rest of the card is pretty stacked as well. Also, if you guys get a chance, try and flip back and forth. You guys can watch Uriah and Strickland as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. That should be a great fight. Other than that, hey, go to prowrestlingtees.com/weighing in. Use the promo code ANDSTILL and pick up one of our shirts there. We got a bunch of different colored shirts there as well, so check that out. And what else you got?
Just telling everyone like you did, go watch the Bellator this week. Tape one, watch them both at the same time. I don't care. That's usually what I do. I put them both up. But you got to watch Patricio and AJ. I believe it's going to be a spectacular fight. So I hope you're there for us. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the setup, because we are on the road, and I want to say thank you to everyone for watching us, and we will see you.
See ya.
Say it again.
See ya.
There you go.